Welcome everyone. Matt Charnley here from HK Martial Arts and Riley Brown. Today we're going to be going through an instructional video to do with footwork and balance, and taking it from a real beginner's level to how to get a good stance and how to maintain the stance throughout the heat of combat. So the first thing we're going to look at is that all sports are born from the foundation, from the feet, and of course combative sports are no different. So it's really important that your students have a good basis and spend a lot of time on their stance and their balance, and then that will lead to good technique later on down the track. So the first thing we're going to look at is how we stand as human beings. Because we're so tall, we have a very short base, our feet. When Riley stands on a line with his feet dead in line this way, he has very little balance forward and back. So one finger and he loses his balance. And the same is true if he has his feet in line front to back. He has very little resistance to sideways pressure, which could be a roundhouse kick or a hook punch. So how do we negate that, and how do we make our stance a lot stronger for both areas of pressure? From here, Riley gets into his 45-degree stance. So he uses 45 degrees, he sinks his weight down, but he's still mobile. His heels are just off the ground, and his weight is distributed 50% left and right. And the reason this is important in kickboxing is because you must be able to lift your leg, either leg, at any time, so you can check or kick. On boxing, you can be a little bit more front foot heavy because you don't have to use your legs as a weapon. But kickboxing, you need to be able to lift your legs and move as well, so you're very light. So what we're going to do is we're going to have a look at some exercises and some drills we can do to really help cement that nice stance into our students, to our fighters. The first one we're going to look at is if Riley and I are just in our fighting stances like this, from here, we're going to just move forward. And whatever the left leg does, the right leg mimics. Then we're going to move backwards. Whatever the right leg does, the left leg mimics. Then we're going to move to the left. Then we're going to move to the right. And we're imagining that there's a rubber band between our ankles which snaps our legs back into that 45-degree stance. And this way, if we do this over and over, it becomes very much a reflex stance, which is what you want to have, because you don't want to get caught in the middle of a round like this or like this and lose your balance, and then you're opened up for another round of combinations and possibly on the ropes. So from here, we're just going to drill forward. 1, 2, 3, 4. And that's a really simple exercise you can do with your students and your fighters. The next thing we're going to have a look at is using just a very simple circular disc. And this is how we build our lateral movement. So human beings, we walk forwards really well. We're not so good at walking backwards or moving right to left. So from here, we're going to practice our lateral left and right movement. I'm going to lead, and all Riley is going to do is he's just going to stay opposite me. So from here, we're moving to our left, then we're moving back to our right, then back to our left. If I step in, Riley steps back, Riley steps in, I step back, maintaining the distance, and then we get back to using that disc as a very tight way to move around, and it just becomes natural moving laterally, which is really important when you're fighting in a confined area like the square ring or the cage. So that's that exercise. The next exercise we're going to look at is if you're in the corner, which is the worst place to be. So if we imagine that Riley has got himself into the corner from here, is how does he get out of that corner without losing his stance? And if he was to come out this way, he's just going to pivot around and still keep his stance. So from there, it's a matter of throwing his right leg around behind, and he's changed the angle of the fight. If he wants to come out to his right, he just sidesteps. And he's still changed the angle of the fight. So once again, he sidesteps, and at all times he's maintaining his 45-degree stance and the ability to fight and defend. So there are 3 really simple exercises you can do with your students just to give them a good basis. Now we're going to have a look at how do we maintain that stance whilst hitting. And this is obviously something that you want to become confident at and make sure that you can use your punches and your kicks whilst not worrying about losing your balance. So from here, to show you the incorrect way, if I'm out of range and Riley tries to punch, he overreaches and he is vulnerable to losing his balance. If he comes in and he does the same punch but he brings his hips under him, now he's got balance, but he's also got resistance forward, back, left and right. So, as a very simple drill for your fighters, we can start off with a 5-punch combination. Not worried about speed or power, we're simply worried about core balance and delivering those punches and still maintaining the ability to move. So from here we would go 1, 2, hook, uppercut, jab. Those punches are all different ranges, but we're bringing our hips under ourselves. So from here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we keep moving around the ring. And again, as you can see, Riley adjusts his feet as he needs to, as the punches become shorter or longer. So as we said before, with kickboxing, we also have to be aware of what the feet are doing. So now, if from here, we're going to be adding kicks into the range. From there, if Riley's going to kick, he has to get his foot back on the ground quickly to maintain his balance. If he does a round kick, he has to get that foot back to where it was. If he kicks me with a roundhouse kick, and he puts it back with poor balance, then he can get rushed and taken. But if he kicks me and puts it down, he can move and still be able to fire off his shots with his hands. So the most vulnerable place you will be in when you're a kickboxer is when you've delivered a kick and then you're retracting the kick to go back to the ground. That's when what the other fighter does, you have to be very, very aware and keep your hands up and also making sure that that foot gets back to the ground as quickly as possible. So from here, if Riley kicks quickly, bang and down, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, off we go. And again he kicks, and we're moving, and he kicks. And from here, at no stage have I got a chance to come in and take his balance. So, same thing with the front kick, he kicks, and he gets it on the ground, and he can still fire off his shots nicely without compromising his core structure. So, in closing, that's just a very basic lesson on balance, and the important thing to remember with your stance is that every single athlete is built from the ground up. If you don't get your base right, your balance and your stance right, then your sport's going to suffer later on, and especially with fighting, it's so important to have a nice, good base that we're familiar with, and we spend a lot of time in that stance and getting it right before we start throwing too many combinations. So I hope everybody got something out of this tutorial today, and thanks for your attention.